Hey guys, Jason Samkovic here with Samco Workshop, and what we're going to talk about for a second is something you never do with your pressure washer. We're going to get right into it, quick and easy for the tip for some of you guys, and then I'm going to teach you how to build this bypass. But basically, what you never want to do with any pressure washer is let off the gun and leave it that way with the machine going, okay? Never want to have that machine running when you're not on that trigger, no longer than maybe, and it depends on how cheap or what your machine is and things like that, but especially some of these have thermal relief valves. But the problem is that when you let off of that trigger, then water is actually not, you don't have cool water continuously going through your pump. So that pump is regurgitating through a bypass. You're regurgitating that water in there, and it's heating up really bad. It'll burn your seals up and that kind of stuff, and it's not good for that. So realistically, when you're using your gun, you're fine. When you're not going to be using your gun, like if you're pressure washing your house and you got to stop for a minute, turn the machine off, okay? Don't leave it on unless you have bypasses set up, which I'm going to teach you. But you need to, if you're just running a short little bypass hose that's on there, you don't want to do that, okay? And I'll show it to you. But that is rule number one, is never, when you let off the gun, do not leave that machine running for very long without turning it off or getting back on the gun. Second thing, do not start your gun when your gun, or do not start your machine when your gun and hose is under pressure, okay? You'll rip your recoil thing apart. It can jam. It can bounce back and punch you. You won't like the results of it. So that means that when you turn your machine off, so you walk over, you hit the kill switch, your machine turns off, then right then or before you go to restart it, take your gun and let the pressure out, okay? Then it's just going to and fizzle out, but now there's no pressure in that line. When you go to start it, it's going to be much easier and not fight you. So never start it when you got pressure, when you're pressurized in the line like that. And the third one I just did, don't machine gun your gun, okay? Don't sit there and bam bam and on the trigger like this trying to do stuff with it. All you're doing is wrecking things in there, so don't mess with that. But now bypass, okay? So what a bypass is here, let me show you here, because I just got this new pressure washer and we are building one. I will show you the original right here, okay? So what we have here on mine, these are pro grade machines. They got unloaders, things like this. You may or may not even have the option of having this on there. It might all be internal, okay? But I just stuck this on here so nothing blew in there while I was gone, because it was raining earlier. But this is your unloader here. Your water goes in through here from your garden hose, which we're going to put a fitting on. Like I said, I just bought this one. Just came today. I'm setting everything up now. But water goes in here, cycles through the pump. Plungers do their valves do their job. Plungers in there are rocking it, and it builds up that pressure. It's going to come out here through your line, okay? Well, when you let off the trigger and your trigger is released, there's no pressure coming out of here, right? So what it does is this bypass here, when it gets too much pressure, because it's going to keep building pressure, this unloader is going to be raising and lowering, it is going to send that excess water out through here, and that water is going to recycle right back into there. So that's what this hose you see on a lot of these is. It sits right here like this. This is a bypass hose that is going to take the water that goes through the pump into here, spit it back into here, and send it right back through. So this water just keeps recycling through this, okay? Comes out, hits here, goes around, goes back into there, goes in, comes through, comes out, goes around. Well, the process of that happening, it heats up, okay? That water gets incredibly hot in your pump, and it will damage things, okay? It will burn seals out quicker. It's not going to last as long, so you want to bypass. So me, as a pro, again, somebody is doing this for a living, I need to be able to get off that, let off that gun on that trigger for a long time. I want to, sometimes I might go 15 minutes where I let off this trigger, 20 minutes, and I'm not worried about it because of this bypass. Now, again, pro grade machines will give you a thermal bypass right here, okay? So, a thermal regulator. So when it does get too hot in there, this will go then it'll pop and let hot water out to let more cold water in. Okay, so it does do that, but I don't want to rely on that too much, and I don't want to wear those out. They get expensive to keep replacing, and they're a pain. So the bypass hose will allow me to let go of that gun and let cold water still filter through it. See, I have it set up on my cat pump version of this right here, which is what we're making. Again, I just got that pressure washer, so we're building everything. It's my downstream injector for it right there. All my bits and pieces. But see this setup I have on here? This is it right here. So on this one, see if we can spin that a little bit. We have that same bypass coming out right here, okay, just like I said, but rather than going in there, we plugged that one. So we're not just making a loop in. Ours now comes up and filters through all of this hosing that we have on here, spits out at this T right here in 2 directions, spits out water. I'll show you when I get it set up. But now, because that water is not recycling through the black hose, but instead coming out of there, coming through all this, and then just dripping out of here, we constantly have cold water filtering through our pump. Okay, none of this heating up water going in and out. My thermal relief valve has never ever popped on this one because of this setup, and I have this bypass. It doesn't have to be quite this elaborate, but this way, what I like about it is it kind of slows the pressure down enough, and then with this T-valve, that I'm actually not like gouging holes in their grass with water spitting out of there. So it's functional, it's easy, it works, and it works incredible, and I am making another one right now. But what that does is that gives us bypass. So now every single second, even when I let off the gun, this is spitting water out of there, but that water is water coming in through the hose right down here, filtering through the pump, coming out. Now it's all pressurized here, so it can't come out of the gun because I have the gun turned off. I don't have the trigger open, so it comes through this line and comes all the way through here and just dribbles out. More water's in and it dribbles out, but it's always cold, fresh water coming through my pump, not heating up on just that little short bypass line. Now, if you were running a buffer tank and you had your machine permanently mounted in your trailer, you would take this line and extend that, or you would take that and you would plug that right into it, to your buffer tank, so that it would, when you let off the gun, water's still coming in and that water's cycling through cold, and it's just dumping water right back into your tank. So that's kind of the process. So, but basically what we are going to do is we are going to take a piece of 3/8 pipe, we're going to stick it right on that fitting, and then we are going to plug this hole right down here, just so no water comes out of there. We're going to put a plug in there, and then we are just going to wrap that hose around there and set it up. So I will show you here once we got it done for you. Okay, here you can see the bypass working because I am off the gun. Watch when I hit the trigger, that'll stop. Now it's all coming out of the gun. See, it's all coming out of the gun there. When I let off the trigger, the bypass kicks in, constantly flowing cold water through the system. That's it right there. When I'm on the gun, I'm getting all the water. When I let off the gun, then it's going straight to bypass, sending that cold water through there. And that's the setup there. And there you can see right here, I mean, it's, you know, just functional, works really good, throws a lot of water, and when I let off, bypass. All right, we just turned that thing off and refilling that tank. I want to keep running it for a little bit just to make sure everything's all good. But now, before we go to start that, like I said, see right now that gun is fully pressurized. You can feel it in that line. I mean, that line is rock solid. That's fully pressurized. And we need to release that before we try to start it. If you try to start it right now, you're going to fight all of that pressure in that line because you're trying to turn the engine over, which is trying to push that stuff through the pump, and there's nowhere for it to go except out the bypass, but it's too hard to push that. So what you want to do before you try to start it, okay, or before you do anything, is release the pressure on this. So all I'm going to do is pull that trigger, and that just released that pressure out of there. Now, okay, no pressure coming through it. Look how limp and easy that line is to move. And now you could start it and start it very easy. So that's your treat key. That's that other thing I was talking about. Just take a minute and release that pressure out of that line before you try restarting it. So, but there you go. That's the setup. That's that bypass system. Like I said, comes right out of here. Instead of bypassing into here, we plugged that. So it's not just that little bitty 10-inch or 1 foot long loop recycling the same water. Now what happens is water comes out of my tank or the hose. This hose here, again, I told you, some of these houses up here in this rental house does not have enough pressure to run even this 4 gallon per minute machine. So I'm filling it through my buffer tank here. But so this tank is supplying the water into here. That water goes through the pump and comes out of the line when I'm on the trigger. But when I'm not on the trigger, the unloader kicks in, bypass goes, and this goes through all of these coils and then spits out here and spits out there. But that constantly cycles cold water through my pump all the time, never having to fire the thermal relief valve, which is right here, and saving a tremendous amount of wear and tear on my pump. My pump does not go through a lot of hassle and trouble. This is a This same pressure washer is my other one. This is the Pressure Pro. This is their new Eagle 2 version. Gives you a little different cart on here, but different wheels. These are solid wheels, not inflatables like I have on that one. But I like this pump so far. Pretty nice. I like the fact that it's got this huge sight window for oil level in there. And it's a general pump, and it's a real good pump. These are triplex pumps, and fantastic. 4 gallon per minute, 4,000 psi, so should be a good machine. But again, made by Pressure Pro, belt drive. There are 3 belts inside of here that run that pump to this motor, which slow down the RPMs tremendously and make these things last a long time. And the Honda GX390, amazing motor. Same setup we got here on this one, but this one we're running a cat pump. And I like it. It's been very good, very reliable. I've been very happy with it. It's going on its 3rd year. Like I said, it's been it's actually 3.5 years in and used a lot, and it's been fantastic. I do, like I said, got a rebuild kit coming for these valves that are inside of here, which will be nice to help that with whatever was fighting it. Had to replace belts on here a couple of times, but same thing. And you can see, same exact kind of setup I did with that bypass. And it's always served it well and worked fantastic. This does have inflatable tires, so we'll see which ones I like better. Those are a little skinnier, which is kind of nice. We'll see how that pans out and what I think of it. But I'm excited. We got another machine. That one is a good backup, and we'll have it up and running completely when that valve kit gets here next week. We'll just have this one as a perfectly ready to go backup machine. It served me well, and we'll fire up this new one and get it going. So there we go. That kind of answers that question for you on their safest way to, things to not do with a pressure washer. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Be back with more stuff soon. Talk to you later.